Welcome everybody, it's Unstoppable Stelezzi here with another Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition casted match. So here we are again with HVNI versus Dawn Stowe, Deathmatch, Germany, Mirror. Let's check out the map real quick and see how it's going to go this time. We've already seen them go at it a few times at this point. So on this particular map, you got these cool two little trade routes here. You got one over here and you got one over here. Basically, in these little sections protected by this river here, you can cross the little fords here where you see the grass and the rocks, and these can be some really nice ways for you to set up side bases to attack your opponent with. Otherwise, most of the warfare is going to be a straight line path along here, right? You got some native sites like Oldenburg and Jagadian there, so good variety of natives too to make things go very quickly. Let's see what these two have in mind for us today. So it looks like everybody's building their church, building a town center, building another town center. Basically in Deathmatch, you need to make sure that you deploy your stuff very quickly. You know, everybody's got 20,000 resources, so you know they're going to spend them to rush you right out of the gate by any means necessary, even making Minutemen out of your town center to pressure them. So, yeah. Big thing is build houses, build military production, and town centers, because obviously your resources are going to be very slim very quickly once you do a lot of fighting, so you need to make sure that the economy is ready to go to pick up where those 20k resources drop off, pretty much. The reason why these people have so many shipments is because what they do is they build a church at the start of the game and they research mercantilism out of that church. Grants them a lot of shipments because, as you know, it's the start of the game and the shipment XP cost is very low. So it's totally possible to get multiple shipments right off the bat when you research mercantilism. Looks like we got stables here making more wagons. Foundry is doing culves. Mostly the cavalry combat cards are coming in now to beef up those war wagons, it seems like. Some Ulans coming in too. As we saw in the last game, a big factor to always consider is, with Germany, you can always get free Ulans with your cards, right? So, even if you're not training them, you're surely going to see them somewhere. And you can do powerful stuff like this. Like, look at taking out 2 war wagons. I should say settler wagons. That's pretty severe, actually, you know? 2 settler wagons, you know how much value that is in villagers? Settler Wagon, for perspective, has the cost of about 2 villagers in terms of pop space, yet it has the gather rate of 2 villagers. So if you take out 2 settler wagons, it's almost like taking out 4 settlers. That's pretty big. That's a huge raid, you know, especially this early in the game. You know, it can make a huge difference. You know, you never know once the 20k resources start burning out, if that loss of the 2 settler wagons is gonna slow down HVNI's progression a bit. Right. Now, what Don seems to be doing is he's maxing in skirms underneath his war wagons for a bit of a skirmish dragoon combo there, which can be pretty significant, you know? Basically doing that will allow him to take out the Ulans, take out the war wagons in a pretty good combination. And obviously, if you're keeping your skirms right underneath your war wagons, it's going to make it a little bit harder for the artillery, like these horse cannons here, to basically target the skirmishers directly. They're going to have a little bit of that meat shielding from the light cap, pretty much. So, looks like Ulans take the front there to try to distract the war wagons and the skirms and protect the stuff in the back. Dawn does decide to retreat a little bit to his towers here. With these towers, he'll be able to get some slightly favored performance in the battles, since of course he'll get some ranged cover fire from those towers. We see a lot of artillery mixing over here. We see mortars and we see culves, so I don't know what he's going to plan to do with those mortars right now, since he's pretty far from the military buildings, but definitely the culves are going to be key for sniping horse artillery and other culverins too, as well as any sort of mortars that HVNI potentially does here. More skirmishers coming in with the war wagons. Does lose a outpost there, so he's losing a bit of ground. Which site is this? This is the Oldenburg, right? So how many native sites is HVNI on right now? I'm looking right here. Well, he's gone to this one. Don Stowe does have this one, though, so it does look like it's kind of divvied up evenly along this side of the land there. So, yeah. War Wagons and Skirms trying to push into HVNI's position. Culverins trying to be very careful not to get sniped by the War Wagons and keeping their distance, you know. These War Wagons with all their bulky physics makes it kind of hard to target the key things you're looking for, whether it's the infantry or the artillery, because they just cover them, you know. So you don't know if you're directly hitting it or not, and thus not doing the most damage that you're looking for from the cannons. We do see some shock riders here raiding HVNI once again on this mill. That's pretty severe since he's already lost what looks to be 3 settler wagons, so about 6 vills worth of economy. Every snipe that Don Stowe can do is basically going to make it a lot harder for HVNI to do anything, pretty much. We do see horse artillery and culverins right here coming in to support the army right here. And what now? Let's see what Don Stowe's looking like resource-wise. So he's got some food, coin, wood. Hasn't quite burned through everything just yet. We do see Lipka Tatars looking to do some raiding too. These would be a cav archer, so not the best raiding unit because it does take them a while to grind down the villagers because of that malice, but still. It's a great way to divert HVNI's forces and keep them away from the front line, which is right here. Yep. Reason why there's mills on the front lines for HVNI is because of the Germantown Farmers Card. The Germantown Farmers Card allows Germany to train settler wagons out of their mills. So basically a continuous line of villagers you can keep putting on the front lines and keep building production buildings where you need them to go, right? Because as you know, town centers only have a build limit of 3, right? Trace. So once you build them out in the back of your base to grow your eco back there, it's going to be kind of daunting to wait for all these settlers to slowly walk their way towards the front to keep helping you push. So one thing you get to get away with Germany is building mills, right? Since you can make as many mills as you want, and just popping out settler wagons from them, thanks to Germantown farmers, whenever you need a forward base in a pinch. Yeah, so it looks like right here, HVNI is grouped right up against his barracks there. Looks like Don Stowe's a bit more spread out in a line. I mean, honestly, I feel like, depending on how much artillery Don Stowe can get, it could potentially go against HVNI, you know? Oh, wait a second. Looks like HVNI does ship in the winged hussar card that Germany gets. They're going to do a lot of charge damage there, as well as some decent melee until they get knocked out. Very good. War Wagons still holding the line there for Don Stowe. And what do we got here? We got some shock riders. I don't know if the shock riders are going to do much because HVNI is doing a good job at holding the choke point here. Notice the choke point between this area and this. It basically makes it very hard for Don Stowe to flank HVNI and get into his base to raid him. So as long as HVNI can hold this line in the sand here, it's going to be really hard for Don Stowe to continue doing more economy damage since he's already done quite a bit of it to him, you know. So it looks like here Don Stowe is struggling in food and HVNI is struggling in coin. Right, so which one's worse, you think? I would say probably coin, because coin can be useful for mercenaries, it can be useful for artillery, as well as other things. Whereas food, you know, food's going to be for just sort of your generic infantry and cavalry, right? So yeah, if you lose all your coin, you're not going to be able to make those mortars you need to siege, you're not going to be able to fight enemy artillery with culverins. Losing coin is pretty significant in this mode. Notice how Don Stowe is taking advantage of pikemen to compensate for his low food right now. So he's basically adding in a few pikemen since it is a decent cannon fodder you can throw in the front. And if they do reach the enemy, hey, they got multipliers of 5x against cavalry. So they are definitely doing a little bit of something, you know. Not for nothing, but yeah. Don Stowe is really trying to push here. He's really trying to get beyond the choke point, because if he can stay in this position here, he controls this entire battlefield. And now, as you can see, he can actually start taking shock riders and Tatars and just running around looking for mills. Hey, I can take out a Sutler wagon right there. I mean, he just doesn't end up going for it. He ends up staying to fight, but yeah, same idea. So basically, we see some Sutler wagons over here. I was wondering if the shock rider was going to locate them and start attacking on them, but it looks like they did not. So yeah, looks like everything's going pretty good. Oh, sending in the German mercenary card as well as 2 heavy cannons for Don Stowe. Pretty smart move. As far as infinite cards, we have the 2 Culverin plus 4 Uhlans. So even if coin starts to become scarce later on, at least Don Stowe will be able to continually supply Culverins to counter whatever artillery strategy HVNI would be coming up with. Let's see where HVNI is at. So as you know, HVNI loves playing natives in his German decks. So you see the Circle Army here, you see the infinite Habsburg line infantry allies there, as well as some of the more single-use ones like the Wagon cuirassiers there, the Saxons, and then the Habsburg mounted infantry. So yeah, good use of natives there. Best thing about natives, obviously, is the fact that they don't cost any population for you. The only ones that cost population are the ones that you train through the Prince Elector's native embassy. That's the only exception there. But even then, you know, a lot of useful units that you can pick. Like, it looks like HVNI went with the House of Hanover, and he has some of these military drummers here. The drummers are a sort of a booster unit that will basically allow you to move your troops faster and attack faster. Makes your army much more efficient when you have drummers running with them. So if you are going to get a native that costs population, it better be the drummers. You know, the drummers are just going to make your battle a lot smoother. Looks like those swordsmen there doing a pretty good job at keeping HVNI back. Notice how much damage they do, a whopping 53 times 2, and then they get a charge attack as well that does about 2 splash. So that's very powerful, enough to totally even disintegrate war wagons with their hand armor. Yeah, so that's basically what looks like's happening here. Where are we at with resources? So it looks like HVNI is starving. Don Stowe is doing a great job at managing his coin and his wood. That's great because he's going to be able to keep a healthy army of artillery going. And obviously with artillery is a very high value unit that you'll be able to eliminate all sorts of things with, namely buildings. You know, you're going to be able to get map control if you have artillery. Also, if HVNI has any infantry, it's going to wipe that out. If you have the ability to keep adding Culverins in, thanks to that Infinite 2 Culverin card that Don Stowe brought, you're going to be able to wipe out HVNI's artillery. And he really can't afford to lose a lot of artillery with his current resource count. You really can. You really cannot afford that. So let's see here. So yeah, look at all the burnout of resources here from HVNI. He can't even really afford to have a full 200 pop state right now. He's falling way behind in that area. See, the only way he's going to come back from this is if he does stuff like this. Microing his Culverins with perfection. Takes out about what looks to be 3 horse art. He's taken out all the horse artillery. This is a huge comeback for HVNI on the battlefield. You know, if he can keep this going, he might be able to force Don Stowe to remake that artillery, and that's going to eat into his coin and take away that advantage that he's been enjoying right now. Mortars do take out some structures. They do take out a foundry. They do take out a tower, so losing one potential place to queue up artillery. Honestly, at this point, though, because HVNI is sort of on the back pedal with his economy, he really doesn't need a whole lot of foundries to be able to queue up what he needs at this point. Maybe when his eco maybe takes a bit of an improvement, then having like 4 or 5 foundries is going to make a little bit more of a difference. But right now, I think 2 foundries is totally satisfactory. See, this is what you got to watch out for. You got another Sutler wagon right here. Of course, he's going to target him with the War Waggies, or is he not? He's just going to pull out of there. Yeah, remember that Don Stowe is struggling with food right now, so he kind of has to pick and choose his battles with how he uses his war wagons. He really cannot afford to let too many of them drop, because that could be pretty serious overall. So, in general, where are we at with villager economy? So it looks like Don Stowe has about 27 villagers worth of economy, whereas HVNI has about 35 villagers worth of economy. So HVNI actually has the better economy right now. It's just that Don Stowe has been able to stock up more of his wood and coin. That's why his situation looks pretty good right now, right? So now this is pretty bad because now HVNI has consolidated his army, and now he can push out as a huge group and start getting huge positive trade-offs against whatever Dawn is doing there, pretty much, yeah. The Saxon Cuirassier shipment arrives. Now, this is the key unit that you can use at this stage in the game to get a huge leg up, you know. Saxon Cuirassiers related to the French ones. They have an area of effect in their melee attack, so as you can imagine, it's easy for them to pick off artillery, villagers, infantry, cavalry, anything. I mean, you notice that they ate into even the HP of the war wagons a bit there, so splash attack is nothing to laugh at. It can be quite a substantial thing. Looks like HVNI is turning it around, though. He's like right in the German base. He's in the buildings. He has enough culverins to do some decent siege in the back, as well as one horse cannon. So what do we get now from Don Stowe? So we see horse artillery, we see drummers, and we see Brunswickers as part of the House of Hanover. So it looks like Don Stowe has also gone with the Hanover allies with his Prince Electors option. Prince Electors lets you get a pretty good selection of different natives, right? You can go Oldenburg, Wittelbach, Habsburg, Hanover, you name it. So, yeah, I picked a pretty good one there, honestly. And where are we at now with the battle? Looks like no army right now for Don Stowe. He's just losing ground. Just losing ground right now. Oh, wow, look at these shock riders. Wow, look at that. He completely ravaged his artillery line there successfully. That was a big advantage there, because now HVNI can't actually siege right now, right? He would have to literally go right underneath his stuff with the war wagons. And of course the war wagons are going to do very substantial damage per shot against the outposts. Are going to do a lot of damage to the war wagons, because basically the war wagons have the cavalry tag, right? So that multiplier is worked in to do some serious damage to them. That being said, HVNI does have some horse artillery there, and he's going to be making some more Unons now too. Let's see, is Don Stowe going to get any more vills? Or yeah, he is starting to queue up some settlers. Kind of realizes that he's going to need a little bit more economy right now. HVNI is at about 44 villager economy, 45 now, and then Don Stowe's on a mere 31. Now, Don Stowe is actually queuing out of multiple town centers. You see this queue here, you see that queue there, even this one, so he is technically growing at a pretty good rate. Within a few seconds, he should have a pretty good stack of vills comparable to HVNI. He might be able to go for that push that we've been looking for, you know. The big siege, as we call it. The big siege might be upon us here, so we're going to have to see if that ends up happening. We do see some raiding here by Don Stowe with Ulans, you know. If the Ulans can find some settlers, that would actually be a great way to gain that leg up in the economy that he's looking for. Unfortunately, they end up in a fight with the Ulans right in front of an outpost, so that's going to be very bad. As you know, Ulans, they do a lot of damage, but they have very low HP. They're almost a glass cannon of Hussar class cavalry. And definitely outposts have no problem completely shredding them if they stay under there for too long. Definitely the thing you gotta watch out for when you're using them. Back in Don Stowe's base, we see skirms, some horse arty, and some war wagons. Yep. Oh, yep, this is a card that Don Stowe likes to use, the Scon Horse Reform. Basically, it turns the crossbowmen into the Lanwuren, and Lanwuren are a upgrade to the crossbowman line, right? So basically, Landwehren are gonna be upgradable into the late game. They are gonna be able to do more overall damage, I believe. So yeah, pretty much with Landwehren compared to crossbowmen, Landwehren will do more general damage but less multiplier damage than the crossbow archer will. Definitely in this situation where it's like super late game into the deathmatch, having a massive Landwehren that's so cheap is a great way to basically disrupt all of these war wagons and actually go for a major push. Which looks like HVNI tried to do from the flank right here. He just tried to flank his opponent, but unfortunately for him, Don Stowe is on top of his stuff and actually ravages all the Ulons, and now he can start targeting away at the war wagons. Yeah, so good for Don Stowe and snuffing this out and going for it. It's going to make a huge advantage, basically. Yep, take that out. War wagons and skirms. Alright, so we got skirms there, war wagons, some Brunswickers. Basically, it's going to force HVNI to rout and probably regroup up here because that's probably going to be the site of a big battle again. Oh wow, look at this. Brunswickers and Ulons on this side now, flanking Don Stowe on all fronts here. Yeah. HVNI is looking to do maximum pressure and maximum damage by basically catching his opponent off guard in areas where he's not necessarily stationed at. Right, but here we see the big return army of skirms and war wagons coming to intercept this new army. Right, war wagons on this front and skirms are going to have to retreat since it looks like Don Stowe, HVNI is setting up a bit of a perimeter there. Yeah, if you can get rid of those Ulons, then the rest should be easy to clean up, I would think. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, Ulons join in to help beat the Brunswickers, and there you go. Yeah. Good setup there. Outpost is still up, helping out a little bit. Yeah, he is finally starting to take a shot at with the Cove. I think this should be down in one more hit. Or should it be? Oh, shock. Yeah, he does take it out with both cannons, but the shock riders take them out. So, yeah, everybody wins something, I guess. Everybody gets a trophy. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. Somebody has to win this match. The question is, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Dawn? Is it going to be HVNI? We don't know yet. We don't know yet what it's going to be. Now, in particular for this sort of game mode, this Big Bun powered by the House of Jaglion is pretty good. Basically what it does, it balances out all your resource stockpiles. So if you have like 1,000,000 coin and you're floating it, it's going to stick the floated over coin and stick it into wood and food. So you got a balanced out economy, you know. So if you forget to get the villagers onto another resource, or you just can't get onto that resource, yeah, basically ensures you can make everything pretty easily. It's pretty much so. We see a lot of settlers and one settler wagon make a move there by HVNI. Also a siege onto the native site there, the Dawn owns. HVNI is making a lot of settler wagons there and adding in some more wagons too. Horse artillery and war wagons are coming in right now, hot off the press. Probably could ship in 2 culls plus 4 Ulons for Dawn. That would be a good way to deal with any artillery that's potentially coming forward. More drummers too to boost up the troops. Pretty good idea, honestly. Yep, siege on that position. Yep. And yeah, it looks like he is trying to get a favorable fight there. Yeah, one thing to remember about Habsburg mounted infantry, it is classed as heavy cavalry. So, believe it or not, these war wagons will actually have multipliers against them. Yeah. It's kind of like in Wars of Liberty how you have the assault units that are actually range, and then the dragoons end up doing multipliers against them. Same concept here, basically. Just because it's a ranged cavalry doesn't mean that it's light cavalry, right? Yeah, it really depends on what it specializes against. Things that specialize against cav and artillery are going to be like light cavalry. Things that specialize against infantry, in particular, are going to be more associated with heavy cavalry, right? Regardless if it's ranged or melee. And what do we got here? We got some of the veteran line infantry from the home city. A nice added native unit that HVNI will be able to take full advantage of in this match. We see Uhlans coming up the side here, looking to do some devastating stuff, I would imagine. Yep. Yep, slice and dice at those settlers. Very good move there, honestly. And now we see the mortars. Very good. I think that mortar should be able to be picked off, though, either by the Uhlans or the war wagons. War wagons end up doing it before it becomes too daunting. Don Stowe is trying to wall up a bit. He doesn't want to get flanked too bad, you know. He's got his right side covered. He does not have his left side covered, though, so something he might want to think about if he can survive this fight. Right, so what's going on now? War wagons for Don Stowe are building up outposts. He's trying to gain any advantage he can in this battle, right? Obviously, an outpost is going to be a very sturdy building that's going to deliver some whopping anti-cav multiplier damage to the war wagons. So if he can get a few of them up, looks like he's got about 2 of them. The war wagons won't be able to stand there for too long without taking some extra losses. And that's exactly what Don Stowe is counting on. He kind of wants to set it up so that HVNI cannot sustain the siege, and he sort of has to pull back and let him, you know, build, essentially. We do see the Landwehren now. These will be a great asset against the light cavalry, pretty much. Right? They're basically a big, massive replacement to the crossbow. Yep, as you can see, they have multipliers about 2.1 against heavy infantry and 1.67 against light cavalry. So, pretty decent damage against the light cav. They even have a bit of anti-skirmisher multipliers, about 1.1, because Don Stowe was able to research the Oldenburg technology to add that property to him, so that's pretty neat, actually. Looks like the Landwehren combined with the war wagons are enough to actually end the siege, at least from what it looks like. Some more wagons coming up the side there should be able to make a push. Oh boy, culverins, yep. Even quicker than I thought, yeah. Even quicker than I thought was going to happen. And we got Uhlans, Landwehren, and culverins getting ready to group up for another push. Big main push through the middle. Drummers drumming their way out of the battle before, yeah, they end up, I don't know how to describe it. Basically, the drummers are drumming away. We got Uhlans, we got Brunswickers, everything centered up right about there, basically, yeah. And what else do we got now? We got Coves, War Wagons, Landwehren. And what else? What else we got here? We got Tonkaps because of the Hanover alliance that both players are using. Oh boy, look at the... Oh, wait a second. Is he going to make a move on this position? If he does, he could get a lot of nice settlers there and could really down Don Stowe's ego. I mean, look at how little resources he's working with there. Whereas HVNI, he's at about 76 villager economy right now. Don Stowe is on a 59 one, so he's... You know, he's definitely trailing a bit. He's definitely trailing a bit in eco, so I don't know how he plans on growing that up. But he's probably going to have to do it, you know what I mean? Yeah, he's going to probably want to ship in the culverins too. Just a little bit more anti-artillery for the horse arty there. He is going to see the horse arty now, so I would imagine he's probably going to get that batch of culverins right now. Takes out one horse arty and then he pulls back towards where he knows where his outposts are. Because he wants to max out the extra damage that he's doing to his enemy, right? Let the towers pepper some of the Uhlans and soften them up a bit so the war wagons can take them out very quickly. We see culverins already in position to take out horse arty, taking out one. 3 more to go. Which ones will go next? That one will go now. And let's see what happens over there. Yep. Looks like one culverin is left. Is that right? Yeah, he's doing a good job though. Takes out another horse already. It's gonna force that one into a retreat, right? Yeah, basically. Force them back a little bit. Very good. We see war wagons make a move there in the middle towards the villagers. Take out that. Very nice. What now? We see Lanmurin. Lanmurin are going to probably make a little bit of a siege onto those native embassies, right? Take out that one. And what now? So we see two armies amassing. It's probably going to be a big major fight right here to figure out who's going to control the middle. It's either going to be HVNI or it's going to be Dawn. So Culverin's already lined up for HVNI and he takes out a horse already. Culverin's starting to work their way towards each other there. Looks like Dawn Stow's winning the Culverin fight. That's good. Make a big difference later. War Wagons trying to form up to deal with the Tone Cops and trying their best to protect the Lanmurin. You know, that's soft underbelly that the Handcap are going to try to make a move on, pretty much. Now, we do see some horse guns there from Dawn Stow to start blasting all that infantry that HVNI is building up. All those Brunswickers, all those Oldenburg skirms, anti-skirms, I should say. Yeah, quite a lot. And Yulon's making the move, connecting with the skirmishers there, forcing them into a retreat. Getting awfully close to where all those villagers are gathering, right? HVNI taking a bit of a risk, keeping his villagers right around this middle area, just so he can move vills up front to do forward basing. Yeah, definitely something you have to be awfully aware of. You know, one thing that we've seen HVNI take advantage of the whole game is basically this card here, the Circle Army. It's an infinite card. Every time you use it, it sends a different unit. Starts out with the Brunswickers, then the mounted infantry, the cuirassiers, and then it loops back to the Brunswickers again. So it's a nice way to keep adding stuff more and more to your army pretty much as the match goes on. Pretty reliable, I would say. And yep, there we go. Looks like a mortar is starting to show its way at the outposts. Very nice. Very good indeed. And what do we got now? More Yulons being shredded. Oh yeah, Settlers running out of that tower very quickly, and now we're going to start getting targeted. Where HVNI is completely cooked in his eco. He's completely swamped. Look at how little he's able to afford. He can only barely make a few Yulons. Whereas Dawn Stow, he's got some backup. He's got a little bit of a surplus there. So he can actually continue to make different things. He's making Lanmurin, making some more wagons, making even some horse artillery. So he still is able to facilitate some sort of a varied army here. Whereas HVNI is just making raw U1s trying to hold back the tide right now. Not enough, though, when you have war wagons there. Definitely. And now Yulons are going to start to charge at the vills with no protectors at all. GG. Yep, he just called GG. That definitely is a GG moment. If you can't defend, you got no eco, what are you doing? But either way, this was a really good battle. It really was unknown who was going to win it. We saw base sieges on both sides of the game, like full-on base sieges. So, I mean, a lot of crazy tactics and also a lot of flanking and raiding too. So, I mean, that's always a good battle. In terms of resources, both were neck and neck. You know, Dawn Stow just happened to pull away a little bit of extra stuff. In terms of military, HVNI was a much better combatant with much less units. But at the end of the day, you know, it didn't matter. Dawn Stow sort of was able to perform on a somewhat similar level in battle and was able to pull off a lot more sieges of the buildings too. About 29 buildings versus, yeah, quite a big one. Quite a big one. So, yep, there's that one for you. And I got a lot more casted games to do with you. So, Definitely, if you like watching these, definitely check them out whenever I publish them. I got millions and millions and even trillions of casted games on this channel, whether it's Wars of Liberty, Definitive Edition, you name it. So if you want to see a casted game, learn something, look at some cool fighting footage, definitely this is the place to be. So I'm signing off now from this one. See you in the next recording I got.